Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to cut through all the noise and demystify artificial intelligence. We're going to go way beyond the buzzwords to really get what AI is, how it actually works, and most importantly, why it suddenly matters so much to all of us.
So let's just start with the question that's probably on your mind. It really feels like almost overnight, AI went from being something in sci-fi movies to something that's in our news feeds, our jobs, and our everyday conversations. So why now? What happened? Well, the short answer is AI has finally hit a major tipping point. It's not some niche thing tucked away in a university lab anymore. Nope, it's a genuinely powerful force that is actively reshaping our world in ways you can see and touch. And the reason for this tipping point is pretty simple. AI is not theoretical anymore. It's the engine humming away under the hood of our digital lives. It's personalizing what you see on Netflix, it's protecting your bank account from fraud, and it's making businesses way more efficient. This isn't just about cool new gadgets. It's a fundamental shift, and it has created this massive explosion in demand for people who actually know how to build and manage these systems.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we're going to follow a simple roadmap. We've just talked about why AI seems to be everywhere. Next, we'll define our terms, peek inside the AI brain to see how it works, look at its real-world impact, and then we'll tackle the big ethical questions this all brings up.
All right, let's dive into it. To really understand AI, you first have to get clear on two terms that people throw around all the time, sometimes interchangeably, but they're not the same thing: artificial intelligence and machine learning. Artificial intelligence, or AI, that's the big one. It's the whole giant overarching concept. Think of it as the entire field of science dedicated to this one massive goal: creating machines that can think, reason, and solve problems kind of like a human can. Machine learning, or ML, on the other hand, it's not the whole field. It's a specific and incredibly powerful way of achieving AI. So instead of trying to write a million lines of code with rules for every single possible scenario, with ML, you just give the machine a boatload of data and let it figure out the patterns for itself. It actually learns from experience. Here's a really simple way to think about it. Imagine AI is the entire universe of smart tech. Machine learning is like one super important, super bright planet inside that universe. So remember this: all machine learning is AI, but not all AI is machine learning. So let's keep going and see how this learning thing actually happens. We're going to pop the hood and look inside one of the most important components in all of modern AI, and it's something that's directly inspired by our own biology. You know, at the very heart of so many of these AI systems is something called an artificial neural network. And the name kind of gives it away. The whole idea is to mimic the huge, messy, interconnected web of neurons that we have inside our own brains. So here's a super simplified look at how it works. You feed data, say all the pixels in a photo, into the first layer, the input layer. That info then gets passed through one, or maybe many, hidden layers. Each little node in these layers analyzes the information, looks for specific patterns, and then passes its conclusion on to the next layer. And finally, the output layer pulls all that analysis together to give you the final result, like saying, yep, that's a cat. And when you hear that buzzword deep learning, this is all it is. It's just a neural network. It has lots and lots of those hidden layers. It's this depth that lets the network spot incredibly complex and abstract patterns. And that's what powers everything from understanding human speech to creating those mind-blowing, realistic images. Okay, so that's the theory, but where is this tech actually making a difference today? It turns out it's being used for a lot more than just finding cats in photos. Take medicine, for example, where AI is an absolute game changer. It's helping scientists discover new drugs faster than ever before, and it can analyze medical scans to spot diseases like cancer, sometimes with an accuracy that even rivals a highly trained doctor. It's incredible. We're also seeing its power in the world of games and strategy. I mean, AI has gone from being a clunky opponent in a video game to a true grandmaster, defeating the best human players in the world at chess and even the ancient, incredibly complex game of Go. A feat that many experts thought was decades away, if not totally impossible for a machine. And then in the world of finance, AI is kind of like a silent guardian. It's working 24/7, sifting through millions of transactions to spot fraud before it even happens. And it's also helping companies make smarter decisions by analyzing insanely complex market data. And this technology's reach goes right down to the food on our plates. AI is helping to totally transform agriculture. using data from things like drones to tell farmers exactly which parts of a field need more water or fertilizer. That means less waste and ultimately bigger harvests. But, this incredible power and the fact that it's everywhere now brings us face to face with some really profound, really urgent ethical challenges. This is not just about what AI can do, it's about what it should do. One of the absolute biggest worries is something called algorithmic bias. Now remember, these systems learn from data. So if the data we feed them is full of our own human biases, historical inequalities and things like hiring practices, then the AI will not only learn those biases, it'll amplify them and automate them. That leads to seriously unfair results. And this isn't just a hypothetical problem. Here's a stark and frankly painful real-world example. Because an image recognition system was trained on a dataset that didn't have enough pictures of Black people, it made a deeply offensive and harmful mistake. This is not just a little tech glitch. It is a direct result of biased data creating a biased system.
And this bias issue gets even trickier because of what's known as the black box problem. We basically face this tough trade-off. On one side, you have these super complex models, the black boxes, that give us amazing results, but they're so complicated we can't really explain how they made a decision. On the other side, you have simpler models that are easier to understand, but they just aren't as powerful. And this lack of transparency becomes a huge problem when an AI is making critical calls about someone's health or their freedom.
And beyond bias, we are facing a whole host of other massive risks. Generative AI can create incredibly convincing fake news and deepfakes at a terrifying scale. The mountains of data these systems need raises huge red flags about privacy and surveillance. And when a self-driving car crashes, who's to blame? The owner, the programmer, the company? These are really hard questions with no easy answers.
And all of this brings us to our final critical question. AI is a mirror. It reflects back at us both our incredible ingenuity and our deepest, ugliest flaws, because that's the data it learns from. So as we keep building this technology and weaving it into the fabric of our lives, the ultimate challenge isn't just about code, it's about us. How do we make sure this powerful mirror learns from our wisdom and not from our flaws?